Hello, hello, hello. Happy, wonderful, marvelous Monday, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope that you all are well. And for those of you who are mothers, whether you are a natural mother, you are a godmother, you are a grandmother, happy belated Mother's Day. Um, I had an enjoyable weekend. I hope that yours was enjoyable. For many of you who have been following me for a while, you know that today I am making a big announcement. Um, I will be selecting someone. It's basically $100 giveaway for those of you who have purchased my book titled An Inspired Life. And so I will be doing that at 8:30 p.m. today. So make sure that you come back to my Facebook page as I will share that on my Facebook Live. Um, just a brief introduction of who I am. I'm Karissa Span, the landlord and tenant coach, and this is what I do each and every Monday right here on my Facebook and YouTube channel. I share information to help landlords as well as tenants. And so today we are talking about the landlord who was charged because he attacked his tenants. True story. I can't make this up. And so this is why I share information to help landlords um, avoid pitfalls from the stories that I share, because sharing is caring. I am, in addition to being a landlord and tenant coach, I'm also a tenant advocate. I'm a housing educator. And so, because my passion is sharing information to help those of you who need it, this is what I do. It costs you absolutely nothing to show up every week to get this information. And so, this broadcast is for landlords and it's also for tenants. If you know someone who is a landlord or a tenant, tell them to tune in right now, because I'm going to share some information that I believe will be so valuable to somebody. It may not be important for you, but it may be important for somebody that you know. So if I share information and if you find it helpful, go ahead and hit that like button. If you are watching on my YouTube channel, please make sure you're subscribing to my YouTube channel. That way you will be the first to know when I go live or I upload videos and information. And so before I get into the discussion today, I want to know where my viewers are tuned in from. So if you don't mind, in the comment box, don't be a stranger. Let me know where you're tuned in from, because I want to always give information that is helpful for my viewers, not just in the DC metropolitan area or the New York, the Brooklyn area or Atlanta area. I recognize that I have viewers who are tuned in from different jurisdictions. And from one city, from one state to the next, the laws are going to be different. All right. So let me just acknowledge some people who are here today. Hello, Lynn. Thank you, beautiful. Thank you so much for tuning in. Lynn, I have a package that I will be sending out to you this week. Long overdue. Hello, Sissy. Thank you so much for tuning in, beautiful, from Brooklyn, New York. New York is in the building. Thank you so much. All right, who's next? Lynette, author Lynette. Thank you, beautiful. North Carolina. Charlotte is in the building and is checking in. Thank you so much, gorgeous. I hope that your weekend was well. You're welcome, Lynn. It's my pleasure. And so today, again, I'm sharing information. True story. A landlord was charged because he attacked his tenant. The month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so every Monday, I'm sharing information on the topic of mental health because it is so important. So last week, I shared information for landlords about tenants who are suffering from some sort of mental illness. Well, today, I'm kind of flipping the switch, if you will. I'm sharing information for tenants because I also recognize that it's not just tenants who have mental health issues. Sometimes landlords are impacted by mental health issues and have been diagnosed. Because listen, mental health illnesses, it doesn't have a face. It doesn't matter the geographical location. It doesn't matter the color of the skin. People are impacted everywhere. And so my goal, again, is to share information that will bring awareness so people will know how to handle these type of situations. And mental health may not be someone who is, or let me just say that someone with a mental health illness may not be only somebody who is bipolar or schizo or something like that. There are all types of mental health situations that are going on. You never know what a person has gone through that will cause them or that will be a trigger for them. And so I'm going to share information today. Because I want you to realize and understand um, sometimes what goes on. And I know that a lot of tenants are going to be emailing me and inboxing me. I get it. It happens all the time. But here's the thing: landlords and housing providers, they are not required to be a particular style. They're not required to have a particular look. All landlords and housing providers are they're not necessarily rich, and some unfortunately are suffering from health issues, mental health issues. And so I want tenants to recognize that landlords and housing providers, they're human too. Okay, so just because people are going through things in life, it doesn't make them bigger or smaller than anybody else. All right, so I want tenants to understand that housing providers and landlords, they go through situations just like everybody else. They're not exempt. All right. Hello, Mary. Thank you so much for tuning in. Beautiful. Thank you from Syracuse. All right. New York is representing strong today. All right. So, true story, guys. And I don't make these stories up. I actually share stories and information of events and situations that are happening in real time. So, something recently took place. All right. And so the story that I'm sharing today is about a polished young man. He came from a middle class family. Um, he was well educated. He inherited the rental property from his parents. Okay. So over the years, his parents, they acquired a lot of property, and they made a name for themselves because they continued to increase their real estate portfolio. And so the son, all he knew is that his parents rented to people and families, but he didn't necessarily know the structure of the business, how to run or operate the business. Well, at some point, his parents became old and they both passed away. And after the parents passed away, of course, he became the heir to the business, the rental property. And so, although he was well educated, he wasn't educated from the real estate perspective and how to manage tenants and how to run the rental property business. Okay, so there are times where and situations where people do inherit rental property. Okay, if they own and self-manage the property, just depending on the state or the jurisdiction, they are not required to have a property manager's license. They are not required to go through property management education. And so genuinely, some people just don't know. And I need tenants to understand this because I come across a lot of tenants inboxed often because landlords are not, in their eyes, seemingly knowledgeable about running the rental property business or how to take care of the home. It's not rocket science, but unfortunately, everybody does not have that education or the knowledge. So I just wanted to state that. All right. So in this story, this gentleman who inherited the rental property, at some point, something happened to this guy, and he flipped. He lost it. And so, but before his parents passed away, they knew that something was going on. They desperately wanted to get the son some help. They wasn't sure if he was bipolar, if he was schizo. All they knew is that something was wrong and they needed to get him help. But he just flat out, adamantly refused to accept help. Okay, so now his parents have passed away. He's the heir. He's trying to manage the properties himself to the best of his ability. He has limited information about how to run this rental property business. He's doing the best that he can, but unfortunately, there is some mental health issues that are currently going on and have been going on for many, many years. So at some point, he snapped on a tenant. He actually assaulted one of the tenants in the home. All right. So that situation happened. The tenant, I'm not sure if the tenant called the police immediately or not, but the situation got worse where he continued to assault tenants in the home. So there were multiple tenants being assaulted, and now it became a big problem. And so the tenants, of course, they felt like they needed to defend themselves and they needed to take action. And so, unfortunately, that's what they did. All right. So I'm not sure the time frame of it. I don't have all of the particulars, but this owner was forced to get help because not only did the tenants file criminal charges against him for assault, they also filed civil suits against him for the damages that he had done to them. So can you imagine someone mentally ill? All right, so we are going to keep going. We're having some technical difficulty for a brief second, but I'm back. So I'm not sure if this gentleman knew what he was doing or not. All right, doesn't really matter to me whether he was or wasn't, but in this situation, um, he was forced to get help needed because, like I said, criminal charges was filed against him. Civil lawsuits were filed against him. And at some point, it cost him more than he anticipated because he ended up losing the property. He ended up losing the empire that he didn't even build. All he had to do was walk into it and continue to operate the business based off of what was already in place, already set up. So essentially, he walked into a situation of wealth. Well, this wealth was created not by anything that he did. So best case scenario, it would have been in his favor and an advantage for him to get the help that he needed, but he didn't do it. And so I just wanted to share that information because sometimes people don't really understand the consequences of their action, right? Sometimes when we open a door, think about a door, if you will. When you open a door, you never know what's on the other side of that door. And unfortunately, because he opened that door and did not get himself help to help him manage or deal with his mental health issues, it created a really bad situation for him where he absolutely lost everything. And so I want to share tips today for tenants who, if they are experiencing any type of situation like this, things that they can do to protect themselves. All right. Just as tenants did in this situation. And it would be unfortunate for a worse situation to come up. And I share a story how the landlord has possibly done something worse than assaulted one of their tenants or multiple tenants. I've shared stories how, people have lost their lives, because of situations that happens between landlords and tenants. And certainly if there's something that we can avoid, let's try to avoid those situations. So I have a few tips that I want to share with tenants on today. And if you have questions, if you have comments, remarks, please go ahead and drop it in the comments section and I will respond to them accordingly. So I do have 3 tips that I want to share, and I've already given a couple, but let me just break it down because I want people to really see it. All right. So give me one moment as I bring it on the screen. The first is this: if a tenant is experiencing a situation where they are feeling threatened or they have a landlord or a housing provider who is violent towards them, if their mental health is in question, they do have a right and an option to contact the police, report it to the police, because you don't want to try to handle situations on your own. You don't want it to become violent. All right. And you definitely don't want it to go down the path where someone lose their life. And so if you are, whether you're the tenant, now let me just also flip this and talk to the landlord. So although this segment is primarily for tenants, I do want landlords and housing providers to understand that mental health issues, it can go both ways. And so if tenants are also showing this type of behavior and are violent towards you, you can also call the police. Please don't feel like you should take matters into your own hands. That's never the appropriate way to handle these type of situations, because here's the thing. At the end of the day, we cannot force people to do what we think they're supposed to do, or what they are required to do. So never feel like you are able to take measures into your own hands, because there are authority that will handle situations. All right, so that's number one. Okay, so Lynette, your comment says the first step to healing is that you need help and admitting that something is wrong and not letting others tell you differently. That is so true, Lynette. But see, here's the thing. Now, what if it's a situation, Lynette, and I agree with you on that, but now let me just ask this question. What if it is a situation rather, where the person is not necessarily aware of their actions? Because if there's some sort of mental health issues, then sometimes, and in many cases, people may not have the mental capacity to understand right from wrong. And so in this situation, this guy, I don't think he was aware, because he suffered from many things mentally. He was just mentally sick. But in that type of situation, Lynette, what recommendation would you give for a person in that situation? All right. And so while I'm waiting for her to respond, I'm going to go to my second point, because tenants do have a right. I don't want tenants to feel like they don't have rights and they must accept things that are being done unlawfully, whether it's mental health or not. All right. So they can file lawsuits for damages. All right. Some tenants do know, other tenants do not. And so if you are a landlord, please know that tenants do have a right to file a lawsuit against you. Okay. It's not just landlords against tenants. Tenants do have that right. And in some jurisdictions, there are advocacy groups, there are free attorneys and lawyers that are available to assist tenants, especially in jurisdictions that are pro-tenant. So for instance, Washington, D.C. is pro-tenant, okay? That means that laws are strongly in favor for the tenant more than they are for landlords, okay? I know that a lot of landlords don't like it. There are some situations and circumstances where I'm also a housing provider. I'm also a property manager. There are times and situations that I don't like it. But unfortunately, what we like, what we think, what we desire, what we agree with or not, doesn't change. All right, guys. So, Sissy, I see your comment. Call the police and explain to them that the person is mentally ill. That's a good point. Thank you for that. All right, so Lynette. All right, you said, Lynette, that's where we step in. Notified authorities, please make sure you give them all the details of how they act. Absolutely. So when they get there, they know how to handle the situation. A lot of times we don't go into detail with authorities. And that's a great point, Lynette. I really like that, because detail is everything. Give as much detail as possible. All right. The more detail you provide, the better. All right. So here is my third point. If the situation continues and if tenants are not comfortable, they do have an option too. Sissy, you said appears to be mentally ill. Absolutely. Definitely share that information. All right. So the third point is this. Tenants can request to terminate the tenancy. If it is a problem and if it is documented, tenants can always request to terminate the tenancy. Now, sometimes it may have to go to court. It may have to go before the judge. And if that is the situation, go through the proper channels to make sure that things are done correctly and legally, because it's not what we know, is what we can prove. And so you want to be able to prove it. It's not he say, it's not she say, but it's documented situations. You go before the judge, you get into the courtroom, and you share the information, you share the facts, you share the details. So if there are police reports, you want to provide that. Sissy, you said you cannot diagnose them. That is so true. We can't diagnose people, even if their behavior, even if symptoms, even if it looks like or resembles something that we know, or maybe we have a loved one that's experienced it or have gone through it. We are not able to diagnose people's mental health situations. All right. So I wanted to share that information, and I hope that this has been helpful for you. And if you feel like this information is helpful, please go ahead and tag somebody. Please go ahead and share this information, because the laws are in place to protect tenants, and they're also in place to protect landlords as well. All right. And so the information that I covered today, it is applicable throughout the United States and many jurisdictions. Mental health is a big issue. All right, I just wanted to share some facts. And if you look at the description, I did share that because I want people to see that there are a lot of places that are, a lot of people, a lot of jurisdictions that are dealing with landlords who are suffering from mental health illnesses. So let me just share this information, because I want you to hear the numbers, okay? And I did put it in the description so that you can view it for yourself. But basically, 1 in every 5 adults in America, all right, they suffer from some sort of mental illness, okay? There are over 50 million, guys, that's a lot of people. There are over 50 million people who are impacted by some sort of mental illness, just in the United States alone, okay? 2.4 million people in the United States suffer or live with schizophrenia, okay? 16 million American adults live with some sort of major depression. Listen, this is serious. Doesn't matter if they're wealthy, if they're not wealthy, doesn't matter how educated they are, doesn't matter how long they've had rental property, if they purchased the property, if they inherited the property, if they bought the property, if it was a crack house, a trap house, if it was a church, if it's a condo, trailer park, doesn't matter. People are impacted everywhere, okay? And so again, May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I wanted to share this information because it's information that a lot of people need to know, all right? And so each and every Monday, right here on my Facebook page or my YouTube channel, I'm sharing information. In many cases, mental health is a disability. And I know that a lot of people think that a disability is something physical. Well, that's not true. Here is the definition of disability. It's people who have some sort of mental or physical impairment. So if a person tells you that they are disabled, and if you don't physically see the disability, please don't challenge that. And legally, you cannot ask a person what their disability is. That is against the law. Please make sure that you are not violating any laws, especially landlords. If you have tenants, if you have prospects or applicants that are trying to rent your property and they tell you that they have a disability, please do not ask them. Do not, just don't do it. Don't ask them what their disability is. That is a prohibited practice. You can be sued if you're caught doing that. And let me just say that there are testers out there. That means that sometimes people will test you to see what your response is going to be. Doesn't matter if you're a nice landlord. Doesn't matter if you're a mean landlord. What matters is that you know the law and that you are governing yourself as well as your rental property business according to what the law says that you must or must not do. All right. Mary, you said, okay. Okay, I see your comment, Mary. Thank you for that. Now, Mary, if you are, I'm not sure if you're a landlord or not, but Mary, if you are, there is help. If you are a tenant, there is help. So this goes back to what author Lynette Jewell stated. She says the first step in getting help is acknowledging that there is a problem. And sometimes we take on things not realizing the impact that it's going to have on us. Sometimes things can trigger us and will cause us to respond in ways that is not productive. Okay, Mary, I see your comment. So I had a student. So I told you all I'm a housing educator. So I had a student, and she shared with the class that she's a tenant and that she suffers from mental health. And she explained openly some of the things that she go through from day to day. What I want landlords and housing providers to understand at this point is this: all tenants may not respond the way that you want them to respond. If they are suffering from mental health, if they have some sort of mental health illness, please know that by law, as a housing provider, you are still to provide a service. Okay. Sometimes tenants are not going to talk, they're not going to respond, they're not going to communicate the way that you want them to. Here's the thing: maybe they just don't know how to do it. Maybe they're not aware of their actions. So sometimes we believe that common sense is not so common. Here's the thing: when it comes to mental health, common sense goes out the window. They are suffering from illnesses that prevents them from operating normally. Okay. So I hope that that helps. I hope that this information has helped somebody to understand the severity of mental health and what it looks like, because somebody can be bipolar. All right. And somebody can be a schizophrenia and suffer in ways that the slightest thing would be a trigger that will cause them to go from 0 to 1 trillion in a split second. Don't try to understand the behavior. Okay. Don't even sign up for that class. There are just some things I don't sign up for. Don't sign up to try to understand why a person is doing what they are doing. In many cases, in order to understand why a person is doing what they are doing, is that you have to go through what they're going through. So don't sign up for that class. If you're suffering from mental health issues, if you know you have a situation and you need help, go ahead and get help, because it's better to get help versus someone forcing help upon you. And in this situation, this guy did not get himself any help. The situation was forced upon him. He was sued. He was taken to court. He was charged, and he ended up losing everything. So I'm sure that when he came home and he found that he had nothing left, he probably found himself on the other side of the table needing help himself. So again, my goal is to provide information that will help landlords as well as tenants, to help people avoid some of these pitfalls of the stories that I do share. And if you thought this was helpful, please come back next Monday at 7:30 p.m. right here on my Facebook page or my YouTube channel. This is what I do each and every week, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please share this information. Like I said, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Stay connected with me. Please feel free to inbox me. If I'm not online and if you have questions, go ahead and inbox me or email me. And I will respond. If you have questions or if you have a subject matter that you would like for me to cover when I do these weekly lives, please go ahead and let me know. I will do my best to provide as much information and details as possible. And if you are not following me on my YouTube channel, please do that. Please go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's my information there. And again, I am Karissa Span, the landlord and tenant coach. Thank you for your time. And I hope that you will join me next week right here on Facebook or YouTube. So I'll wait a few seconds to see if anybody else have a question or a comment. If not, then I look forward to you guys joining me next week. All right. Thank you so much for that, Mary. And I hope that the information that I shared today was helpful. So with that being said, I don't see any other questions or any other comments. I'm going to say bye for now. Pete, thank you so much for joining the party. You're a little late, but I was expecting you. Pete, let's chat. I will be in your area, I believe, next week. So let's see how we can connect. And so again, guys, today I'm announcing the giveaway, the $100 giveaway for those of you who have purchased the book. And I ask that if you purchase my book, which is titled An Inspired Life, to inbox me, to tag me with a copy of the book. I'm doing the giveaway at 8:30 p.m. I'm doing it live on Facebook. So if you're not following me on Facebook, please come back at 8:30 for that announcement. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And I look forward to you joining me next week. Please share this information because sharing is caring. Hey, Red Carpet 43, thank you so much. Okay, Pete, I see that you were here the whole time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, guys. So again, my time is up and I thank you for yours. And I hope that you will join me next week right here. Same station, same time. And again, share this information with somebody. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell a loved one to tune in. Landlords as well as tenants. All right. See you guys next week. Goodbye.